Alright, so Apple's Unleashed October 18th event is less than 50 hours away, and here's what we can see from the M1X Mac Mini and the M1X iMac. Let's start off with the Mac Mini, because there's a higher chance that we can see this at the event. So starting off with the design, we are expected to see a tiny refresh with this new Mac Mini. It is supposedly going to adopt the new iPhone and iPad design language, which is, boxy edges, squared off design, and is going to be a bit smaller overall, a bit thinner too. It's also apparently getting a plexiglass top. Why? I think the Mac Mini's aluminum, so I don't know why they'd make the top plexiglass. And also covering the ports really quick, the M1X Mac Mini is supposed to receive 2 more Thunderbolt ports. So the M1 Mac Mini had 2 Thunderbolt ports, 2 USB-A ports, an Ethernet jack, its power connector, and I think an HDMI port. This new Mac Mini is just supposed to add 2 more Thunderbolt ports on top of that, and hopefully the HDMI port can turn into an HDMI 2.1 port. As for performance, this Mac Mini is supposed to be getting the M1X, which is a more powerful variant of the M1, like the A12 and the A12X chip that we saw with the iPhone XS and the iPad Pros of 2018. This is similar to that. So the M1X is supposed to have 12 CPU cores, up from 8 in the M1, and there were a couple rumors that mentioned it having 10. But of these 12 CPU cores, 8 of them will be high performance, and 4 of them will be high efficiency. Now on a desktop device like the Mac Mini and the iMac, it doesn't need power efficiency cores as much as MacBooks do because they don't have a battery. But I hope that Apple, at least for the Mac Pro, makes some custom chips that have at least fewer efficiency cores in favor of performance cores so that they can achieve maximum power. Now the M1X's GPU is expected to have 16 or 32 cores. I guess 16 would be for the lower end devices with the M1X, and then 32 for the higher end devices for the M1X. Some leaked benchmarks of the M1X show it hitting about 15,000 points in the Geekbench 5 multi-core stress test, and also 15,000 points in the Cinebench R23 multi-core test. The single-core scores show it hitting between 1,500 and 1,800 points in both tests. And while this may not be an accurate representation of what this real chip turns out to be, it still has huge improvements over the past chip. Now, in terms of CPU, the single-core was just a 6% increase over the previous M1 chip. However, in the multi-core, that is a 100% increase, well, roughly 100% increase over the M1. The M1 scored around 7,000, I think, which was already pretty good. That was already beating out, I think, the base 16-inch MacBook Pro. But for it to double that into 15,000 is just mind-blowing. Now, as for the release and the price, the previous M1 Mac Mini came out last November, so this getting refreshed in October makes perfect sense. And there are some pretty minor upgrades in general, that is, aside from the M1X. Also, I don't think Apple can keep on selling their higher-end 4 Thunderbolt port Mac Mini with Intel chips for too long, so I guess this is pretty much confirmed at this event. When the original M1 Mac Mini came out, a lot of people were kind of annoyed that they didn't refresh the 4 Thunderbolt port version. And on the topic of that, it is a bit confusing as to whether they're refreshing both at the same time. However, regardless of which model they're refreshing, I think the Mac Mini is going to stay at the same price. But now let's move on to the iMac, which is arguably a much more exciting upgrade that we've been waiting for. So much like the 24-inch iMac from earlier this year, the 27-inch is expected to receive a huge design upgrade. First off, we can see the screen size go up to 30 or 32 inches. Personally, I think it's going to go to 30, although there have been rumors of 32. It's also expected to take on the 24-inch iMac's design language, so the boxy design, the squared off edges, all that good stuff. And as for the chin, it's a bit unclear if they're still going to keep the chin like they did on the 24-inch iMac, or if they're going to make it more Pro Display XDR-like. I think Pro Display XDR-like makes a lot more sense. The display might even be Pro Motion, although I don't know if Apple would make a Pro Motion equipped iMac without making a Pro Motion equipped Pro Display XDR. Although one thing that will probably be in those bezels is Face ID, finally coming to the iMac. Now, Face ID isn't confirmed, although Touch ID most certainly is because the 24-inch iMac supports it, but Face ID would be a nice touch to show the superiority of this iMac over the 24-inch iMac. And a quick personal wish, I hope that it receives the iPhone 13 Pro colors. I don't know why Apple only does silver and space gray for Pro consumers, because the silver is very inconsistent between devices, and then space gray is just, well, space gray. So I hope that they bring, like Sierra blue, which is really nice, a gold especially to these Macs. I mean, come on Apple, bring gold. And hopefully also this iMac can adjust a bit more, like it can actually heighten a bit or swivel a bit more, because the 24-inch iMac I think can only change the tilt. Hopefully this one's better than that. Now, talking about the ports really quick, this is my speculation. I think that we'll get all the same ports as on the 24-inch iMac, so that's 4 Thunderbolt or USB-C ports. I think we're also going to be getting the Ethernet port on the power brick, but when they thin the device down this much, I don't think they'll have space to put USB-A ports in, and I hope they don't, because USB-A sucks and should be replaced immediately. That's my opinion. I know that people are probably going to rage at me right now, but yeah, I kind of hate USB-A. So yeah, hopefully we can replace those 2 USB-A ports with USB-C ports. And I really hope that they keep the SD card reader. I think they'll have to implement it on the side, much like they did the headphone jack in the 24-inch iMac. Now, as for the performance, this is expected to come with the M1X, which I talked about in this video already. I'll leave a timestamp down below if you want to go back to that. Now, as for the release, this is where it gets a bit confusing, a bit conflicted. So some reports say that it's going to release early next year, some say it's going to release this year. So we are nearing the end of Apple's 2-year transition to Apple Silicon, which is June. So that means that after June, it's not that every single Mac will have Apple Silicon in it. It's just that no new Macs will come out with Intel chips in them. But what I think is that if they release the bigger iMac at this event, then next year at WWDC or whatever, they can announce a new Mac Pro and Mac Pro Mini, whatever those rumors are, that come out with Apple Silicon. Oh, and maybe an iMac Pro there as well, unless they just make the larger iMac the iMac Pro already. And also touching on the price really quick, the current 27-inch iMac starts at $1,799 USD. I think they will bump it up to $2,000. It just makes sense. That's what they did with the 24-inch iMac. They gave you a little price bump, and then they continued to sell the 21.5-inch iMac, which I don't know why they're still doing that. Don't buy it. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. Let me know what you want to see from the M1X Mac Mini or M1X iMac, and really anything at this upcoming event down in the comments below. And also let me know, are you going to pick any of these up? Are you interested in buying one of these? And if so, what are you going to use it for? Are you going to be using it to edit 8K videos and like 500 tracks in Logic? Or are you going to be using it to watch Netflix and type up some essays? Anyways, thank you so much for watching. That's pretty much it for the video, and that's pretty much it for me.